Bet you don't even have $50 left. Manager Derek Phillips burst into laughter, pointing directly at Maya Washington. He flicked her declined debit card off his desk. Maya watched it slide across the marble floor, coming to rest near a stranger's polished shoes. Derek stood up, still laughing, and gestured toward the exit. This is premium banking, not charity. There's a food bank across town. 12 customers turned to stare. 3 phones lifted, recording. Security guard Marcus stepped closer, grinning. Maya bent down slowly to retrieve her card. Her simple jeans and cotton sweater drew whispered comments from the crowd. A woman near the rope barrier shook her head in disapproval. The 32-year-old African-American woman straightened, card in hand, her face completely calm. Have you ever been judged so harshly that strangers joined your humiliation, not knowing they were witnessing someone who could change their lives forever? Derek's announcement echoed through the branch. Attention valued customers, we apologize for this disruption. Premium service will resume momentarily. Maya stood frozen, every eye in the lobby fixed on her. The woman at the velvet rope whispered to her companion. Security should have stopped her at the door. A man in a charcoal Armani suit checked his Rolex impatiently. This is exactly why I bank at the executive level, to avoid situations like this. Sarah, Derek called to his assistant manager. Come see this. Someone thinks $50 qualifies as premium banking. His voice carried deliberately across the marble expanse. Assistant manager Sarah Carter hurried over, her heels clicking against the polished stone. She glanced at Maya's declined transaction slip, then studied her outfit with obvious distaste. Oh my. Sir, perhaps we should handle this more discreetly? No, this is educational. Derek turned to address the growing crowd, his voice rising. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why Prestige Financial maintains the highest standards. We protect our distinguished clientele from inappropriate solicitations and misunderstandings. He gestured toward Maya with theatrical flair. This establishment serves Fortune 500 executives, international investors, and generational wealth families. Not, well, you can see for yourselves. A customer filming with her phone stepped closer. Her TikTok handle read @RealTalkTina, already broadcasting live to 847 viewers. The viewer count climbed rapidly as notifications pinged. Y'all seeing this blatant discrimination? This manager is wild, she whispered to her screen. Comments flooded in. This is disgusting. Someone call the news. Get his name. Banking while black is still a crime, apparently. Maya reached into her simple canvas bag, fingers brushing past her Platinum American Express black card tucked carefully behind worthless membership cards. A boarding pass peeked from her phone case. Emirates business class to Dubai, departing tomorrow at 11:45 p.m. 10 minutes until branch closing, the PA system announced with cold efficiency. Derek straightened his Hermes tie, clearly performing for his captive audience. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave immediately. Your presence is making our legitimate customers extremely uncomfortable, and frankly, it's disruptive to our business operations. He leaned against his mahogany desk, arms crossed. This is Prestige Financial Services, not a community assistance center. Our minimum account balance is $50,000. Our minimum investment portfolio starts at $250,000. I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about your situation. Maya's University of Pennsylvania Wharton MBA keychain caught the overhead lighting as she shifted her bag. The small Ivy League detail went unnoticed by everyone focused on her appearance. A teenager near the back pulled out his phone. Yo, this is content gold. Racist bank manager going viral tonight. Derek's confidence grew with each supportive nod from his customers. Security, please escort this individual from the premises. She's disrupting legitimate business operations and making false claims about her financial status. Marcus, the security guard, approached reluctantly, his own discomfort visible. Come on, miss. Let's not make this situation any more difficult than it needs to be. These folks have important business to conduct. At Real Talk Tina's live stream exploded with engagement. Viewer count hit 1,147. This is happening right now at Prestige Financial downtown. Manager just called security on this black woman for trying to open an account. Comments streamed past. What's the manager's name? Someone record his face. This is 2025 and nothing's changed. Sue them all! The hashtag banking. While Black began trending in real time across multiple platforms. Derek pulled out his iPhone, typing deliberately and loudly for maximum effect. I'm documenting this entire incident for corporate headquarters. Attempted fraud, disorderly conduct, refusing to leave when asked. He paused, looking up at Maya with a smug expression. Anything else you'd like me to add to your permanent record with the banking authorities? A well-dressed elderly man near the premium teller window adjusted his gold cufflinks and shook his head disapprovingly. In my day, people understood social boundaries. They knew their appropriate place in society. His wife nodded sagely. It's the entitlement culture. Everyone thinks they deserve everything these days. Maya's phone buzzed against her palm. A text from Goldman Sachs executive assistant. Board meeting. Reminder, tomorrow 9 a.m., Federal Reserve Conference call preparation. Your economic impact projections needed. Another message appeared immediately. James Morrison, CEO Prestige Financial. Maya, confirmed lunch tomorrow to discuss Q4 institutional investment projections. The board is eager for your recommendations. She silenced the phone quickly, but not before Derek caught a partial glimpse of the screen through her phone case. Corporate meeting? Derek scoffed loudly, ensuring everyone could hear. Let me guess. Orientation for cleaning staff? Or maybe you're interviewing for food service? His audience chuckled appreciatively, some openly laughing. Sarah Carter tugged Derek's sleeve nervously. Derek, maybe we should just process her transaction and... Absolutely not, Sarah. This woman walked into Prestige Financial Services with $50, dressed like she's going to a garage sale, and expects premium treatment. Our customers pay substantial fees for an exclusive experience. They deserve better protection from this type of disruption. The crowd murmured strong agreement. Multiple phones continued recording from different angles. At Real Talk, Tina's viewer count hit 2,431 and climbing. 8 minutes until closing, came the sterile announcement. Derek picked up his desk phone theatrically, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Yes, this is branch manager Derek Phillips. I need to report a minor disturbance. No theft involved, just persistent loitering and harassment of customers. Someone who clearly doesn't understand appropriate social boundaries or business protocols. Maya stood perfectly still, observing every detail. Her breathing remained controlled and steady. Her expression revealed nothing. Hidden in her bag, the business card holder remained concealed. Sterling silver with custom engraving, containing cards that read, Maya Washington, Ph.D., Senior Partner, Washington Capital Management, $2.8 billion assets under management. 6 minutes remaining until close. Derek gestured grandly toward the marble exit doors. Ma'am, your transportation awaits. I believe the public bus stops directly outside. Very convenient for someone in your circumstances. The crowd's laughter grew noticeably louder. Phones captured every humiliating moment. Social media notifications created a constant digital chorus. Maya finally spoke, her voice quiet but crystal clear. Mr. Phillips, may I have your complete full name and employee identification number for my personal records? Derek's grin widened. Derek James Phillips, Senior Branch Manager, Employee ID 4471. And you won't be needing that information where you're heading, sweetheart. She nodded slowly, pulling out her phone with deliberate calm. Her contact list scrolled past entries like Federal Reserve Board Director, Treasury Department Deputy, and SEC Commissioner Williams. Derek caught another glimpse and laughed harder. More fantasy contacts? What's next? You're personal friends with the Federal Reserve Chairman? Maybe you have Warren Buffett on speed dial too? The crowd erupted in renewed laughter. 4 minutes until branch closing. The branch president's office remained conspicuously dark on the executive floor above. Derek had called upstairs 3 times, each rejection feeding his growing confidence and theatrical performance. Mr. Harrison is far too busy handling real business to deal with this situation, he announced loudly to his captive audience. At Real Talk Tina's live stream had exploded to 4,200 viewers and climbing rapidly. Comments flooded the screen faster than anyone could possibly read. Someone get this manager's full name. This is going viral. Call Channel 7 News. Recording everything for evidence. This man is wild disrespectful. Derek basked in the attention like a performer on stage, his voice growing louder and more theatrical with each passing moment. Ladies and gentlemen, witness what happens when proper banking protocols meet entitled behavior. This is exactly why Prestige Financial maintains strict admission standards and security protocols. A woman in designer pearls and a Chanel suit stepped forward, clearly emboldened by Derek's performance. Excuse me, manager. I've been waiting 12 minutes for premium service while you deal with this disruption. I have a $2 million wire transfer to complete before close. Of course, Mrs. Patterson. Sarah, please escort Mrs. Patterson to VIP services immediately. Our valued clients shouldn't be subjected to these unnecessary disruptions. Derek's tone shifted instantly to obsequious professionalism. Maya watched the stark contrast in treatment, still motionless in the center of the lobby. Her phone buzzed again, another text from board member Carter. Maya, reviewing your infrastructure investment proposal tonight. Brilliant analysis, as always. Looking forward to tomorrow's presentation. She glanced at the message briefly before Derek's voice boomed again across the marble expanse. Security! Why is this person still on our premises? Our insurance policies specifically exclude liability for unauthorized individuals loitering in restricted banking areas. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, his hand hovering near Maya's shoulder, but not quite making contact. Miss, please, I really need you to step outside now. Don't make me call backup units. Backup? Derek's eyes lit up with malicious glee, sensing an opportunity for even greater drama. Excellent idea, Marcus. Call downtown patrol immediately. Let them handle someone who clearly doesn't respect private property boundaries or basic business protocols. The teenage TikToker near the back had launched his own live stream. Yo! Racist bank manager calling police on innocent black woman. This is absolutely insane! His viewer count hit 1,847 and climbing. 2 separate hashtags now trended simultaneously across multiple platforms. Hashtag banking while black and #prestige financial racism. 3 minutes until branch closing, the PA system announced with mechanical precision. Derek pulled out his personal iPhone, holding it high for everyone to see. I'm recording this entire interaction for legal protection and corporate documentation. Everyone here witnessed her refusing to leave when asked politely multiple times. He panned the camera dramatically across the crowd. Can I get witnesses to confirm this woman was asked repeatedly to exit voluntarily? Several heads nodded eagerly, caught up in the mob mentality. The man in Armani called out loudly, "She's been completely disruptive from the moment she entered." Absolutely disruptive and inappropriate, echoed Mrs. Patterson from the VIP area, her voice carrying across the lobby. Maya's phone lit up with another message. Dr. Richardson, Federal Reserve. Maya, your economic forecast modeling presentation tomorrow has been moved to 8 a.m. Treasury Secretary wants to review your inflation projections personally before the board meeting. Derek caught a partial glimpse of Federal Reserve on her screen and burst into fresh, even louder laughter. Oh, this gets exponentially better. Now she's pretending to work for the government. What's next? CIA, FBI? Maybe you're secretly the President of the United States? The crowd's amusement reached a crescendo. Multiple people applauded Derek's performance like he was entertaining them at a comedy show. Sarah Carter looked increasingly nervous, tugging at Derek's sleeve. Derek, maybe we should just process her transaction quietly and... Sarah, absolutely not. Don't enable this delusional behavior. This woman walked into our establishment, attempted fraudulent transactions, refused to leave when asked politely, and now she's creating elaborate fantasies about prestigious government positions. His voice carried clear authority and condescension. These are classic textbook signs of mental instability. At Real Talk, Tina's live stream viewers had reached 6,100. This manager is absolutely destroying this woman publicly. Someone needs to stop this madness. A new customer entered. James Carter, Sarah's husband, arriving to pick her up after work. He immediately sensed the electric tension and pulled out his phone to record the scene. Derek noticed the new audience member and played to him instantly. Sir, perfect timing. You're witnessing exactly why Prestige Financial maintains the highest security standards in the industry. We actively protect our distinguished clients from individuals who create disturbances and make completely false claims about their financial status. James Carter began his own live stream immediately. Banking discrimination happening live at Prestige Financial downtown. Manager publicly humiliating black customer while crowd cheers. 2 minutes until closing. The announcement echoed through the vaulted ceiling. Derek's confidence peaked as he stood on his chair, addressing the entire lobby like a ringmaster at a circus. Everyone, please observe proper banking etiquette. When an establishment politely explains you don't meet their service requirements, the appropriate response is to leave gracefully and find more suitable options elsewhere. He pointed directly at Maya with theatrical flair. This individual has wasted 15 valuable minutes of everyone's time, disrupted premium customer service, created an uncomfortable environment for legitimate clients, and refused basic cooperation with security personnel. Marcus received orders through his earpiece from building security. 10-4, calling backup patrol for escort assistance, ETA 4 minutes. Maya's bag shifted slightly as she adjusted her position, revealing the corner of her sterling silver business card holder. The engraving caught the light briefly, MW, senior partner. But everyone remained focused exclusively on Derek's increasingly dramatic performance. A group of college students near the entrance had their phones out, live streaming to Instagram and Snapchat. This is crazy! Manager going full racist on this lady. Ma'am? Derek announced with theatrical finality, his voice echoing through the marble lobby. You have exactly 90 seconds to exit voluntarily before law enforcement officers arrive to escort you out. This is your final opportunity to leave with whatever dignity you have remaining intact. The crowd waited expectantly, like an audience at a sporting event. Phones recorded from every conceivable angle. Social media notifications created a constant digital symphony of pings and buzzes. At Real Talk, Tina whispered urgently to her 6,847 viewers, "Y'all, this is about to get really bad. Police coming for this woman who literally just tried to open a bank account. This is America in 2025, nothing's changed." Mrs. Patterson called from VIP services, her voice carrying across the lobby. "Manager Phillips? I'm documenting this excellent security response for my country club newsletter. Other members need to know which financial institutions maintain proper standards." Derek beamed with pride, basking in the approval. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. Prestige Financial has served distinguished families like yours for 3 generations. We don't compromise our reputation for anyone." Maya's phone buzzed one final time. The message read, "Goldman Sachs Chairman. Maya, the Federal Reserve is extremely impressed with your banking sector analysis. They want to discuss your recommendations for new industry regulations tomorrow morning." She glanced at the message, then slowly lifted her eyes to survey the room methodically. 47 people total, 12 filming actively, security backup en route, branch president still hiding upstairs like a coward, Derek Phillips, employee ID 4471, performing for his audience. Sarah Carter, looking increasingly uncomfortable but still complicit. Marcus, reluctantly following orders despite obvious personal discomfort. And Maya Washington, still holding her declined debit card, standing exactly where this entire humiliation began. 1 minute until closing. All transactions must be completed immediately. Derek spread his arms wide, addressing his captive audience one final time with maximum drama. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience during this unfortunate disruption. This concludes today's lesson in proper banking protocol and appropriate social boundaries. He turned to Maya with theatrical finality, savoring his moment of apparent triumph. Ma'am, your time is officially up. Security, please proceed with standard escort procedures. Maya finally moved. She pulled out her phone with deliberate calm, scrolled to a specific contact, and pressed dial. The number connected immediately. Speaker, she said quietly, touching the screen. The entire branch fell into absolute silence, 47 people waiting to see who would answer this desperate woman's last-ditch call for help. Derek grinned with anticipation, expecting the final humiliation when no one important picked up. He had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. The phone rang once. Maya! The voice boomed through the speaker, warm and familiar. Perfect timing. I was just reviewing your presentation for tomorrow's board meeting. Derek's grin faltered slightly. The voice sounded professional, authoritative, not what he'd expected from someone's desperate last call. Maya held the phone steady, her voice maintaining perfect calm. Hello, James. I'm actually standing in your downtown branch right now. The entire lobby froze. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Even the background hum of the air conditioning seemed to pause in anticipation. You're where? The voice sharpened immediately with genuine concern. Which branch? Is everything all right? You sound stressed. Derek's face began draining of color. Something in the caller's tone suggested this wasn't Maya's desperate attempt to save face with a fake contact. Sarah Carter stepped closer, her earlier confidence evaporating as she studied Maya's calm demeanor. I'm at the downtown Prestige financial location, Maya replied evenly, her voice carrying clearly across the marble expanse. Your manager, Derek Phillips, has been providing me with quite an educational experience about your customer service protocols. At Real Talk, Tina's live stream exploded with activity. Comments flooded faster than the screen could display. Who is she talking to? This sounds real. Plot twist incoming. Manager looking shook right now. The viewer count climbed rapidly. 8,400, 9,200, 10,100 people watching live. Derek Phillips? The voice carried immediate, unmistakable authority. Employee ID 4471, put him on the phone immediately. This instant. Derek's hands trembled visibly as he reached for the device. His theatrical confidence had evaporated completely, replaced by growing panic. Who exactly am I speaking with? This has to be some kind of mistake. This is James Morrison, Chief Executive Officer of Prestige Financial Services. And you, Mr. Phillips, just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic career. The silence that followed was absolutely deafening. Mrs. Patterson's diamond-adorned hand flew to her mouth. The man in Armani slowly lowered his own phone, his face pale. Marcus stepped back instinctively, no longer wanting any association with the unfolding disaster. Sarah Carter whispered, "Oh my God," audibly, her voice carrying across the now silent lobby. Several customers began edging toward the exits, sensing the dramatic shift in power dynamics. Derek's face went completely white, then gray. Sir, there's been a serious misunderstanding. This woman came in with inappropriate documentation, declined cards, and her appearance suggested, Stop talking right now. The CEO's voice cut through the marble lobby like a laser. Maya, are you still on speaker? Can everyone hear me clearly? Yes, James, the entire branch is listening. Excellent. Then everyone can hear this. Morrison's tone shifted to deadly, controlled fury. Derek Phillips, you are addressing Dr. Maya Washington. senior partner of Washington Capital Management, incoming member of our board of directors, principal architect of our new institutional investment strategy, and one of the most respected financial economists in North America. The crowd's collective gasp echoed through the vaulted ceiling, bouncing off marble columns. Derek swayed on his feet, gripping his desk for support. Board of directors? That's impossible. She's wearing jeans and... Maya reached into her bag with deliberate, measured calm, withdrawing her sterling silver business card holder. The engraved surface caught the overhead lighting as she opened it slowly, revealing cards that read, Maya Washington, Ph.D., Senior Partner, Washington Capital Management, $2.8 billion assets under management. She placed one card precisely on Derek's desk, the sound of cardstock hitting wood unnaturally loud in the silence. Furthermore, Morrison continued, his voice carrying to every corner of the branch, Dr. Washington's firm manages 12% of our total institutional client assets. Her company represents our largest single revenue source outside of commercial lending. Her personal investment portfolio alone generates $34 million in annual fees for this institution. At Real Talk, Tina's viewer count hit 12,400 and climbing. Her whispered commentary barely contained her excitement. Y'all, she's on the board. She literally owns the bank. This manager is completely finished. Comments streamed past. Revenge is sweet. Manager about to get fired. Justice in real time. This is better than Netflix. Derek stared at the business card, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. I didn't know. She looked... Her clothes were so casual. Anyone would have assumed. Her clothes? Morrison's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried more menace than his earlier shouting. You refused service to a board member because of her clothing choices? The teenage TikToker had started his own stream, capturing Derek's meltdown from a different angle. Yo! This manager is having a complete breakdown! This is insane content! Maya spoke for the first time since placing the call, her voice carrying quiet, devastating authority. James, I should clarify the specifics for accuracy. Mr. Phillips didn't simply refuse service. He suggested I apply for employment at McDonald's. He informed the entire lobby that I was clearly welfare dependent, mentally unstable, and fundamentally unsuited for this establishment. She paused, letting each word sink in. He also stated that people like me should know our place in society. The CEO's response came immediately, his fury barely contained. Derek Phillips, you are suspended effective this instant. Security will escort you from the premises immediately. Sarah Carter, you're now acting manager until corporate can conduct a full investigation. Mrs. Patterson, who had been enthusiastically cheering Derek's performance just minutes earlier, began backing toward the exit, her designer heels clicking nervously on marble. But sir, Derek stammered desperately, his voice cracking. I was protecting our customers from someone who didn't appear to meet our institutional standards. Look at her outfit, her declined card. Anyone would have... Our standards? Morrison's voice erupted through the speaker with such force that several people jumped. Maya Washington graduated summa cum laude from Wharton Business School with the highest GPA in her class. She holds a doctorate in financial economics from MIT. She's personally advised 3 Federal Reserve chairmen and authored half the banking regulations you're supposedly enforcing. Maya pulled out her phone again, scrolling deliberately to another contact. The movement was calm, controlled, terrifying in its implications. James, I should mention that my Federal Reserve conference call is scheduled in 45 minutes. Should I inform them that Prestige Financial is experiencing compliance issues with federal anti-discrimination statutes? The threat hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Derek collapsed into his chair completely. Federal Reserve? You actually work for the government? Dr. Washington doesn't work for the Federal Reserve, Morrison corrected with icy precision. She consults with them. Her economic forecasting models influence national monetary policy. Her recommendations shape international banking regulations. The live stream had reached 16,800 viewers across multiple platforms. Maya's calm was more terrifying than any shouting could have been. Maya's voice cut through the chaos with surgical precision. James, before you arrive, let me share some specific numbers with everyone present. She pulled out her phone, accessing what appeared to be a sophisticated financial dashboard. The screen showed real-time data streams that made Derek's remaining color drain completely. Mr. Phillips, Maya began, her tone shifting to professorial and absolutely devastating, let me provide you with a comprehensive education about the customer you just dismissed so publicly. Derek tried to interrupt with stammered apologies, but Maya continued relentlessly, each word precisely calculated. Prestige Financial Services recorded annual revenue last fiscal year of $847 million. My firm, Washington Capital Management, directly manages institutional assets totaling $2.8 billion. Of that substantial amount, $1.2 billion flows through Prestige accounts annually. She swiped deliberately to another screen, numbers glowing with undeniable clarity for anyone close enough to see. Your specific branch, Mr. Phillips, processed approximately $62 million in total transactions last quarter alone. My personal investment portfolio generated $4.3 million in fees during that identical time period. At Real Talk, Tina's live stream had exploded to 18,200 viewers and climbing rapidly. She's dropping actual receipts, literal financial facts and figures. This manager is absolutely finished. Comments flooded past faster than anyone could read. Drag him with data. Numbers don't lie. Professional destruction. This is better than any movie. Sarah Carter found her voice, though it trembled noticeably. Dr. Washington, we had absolutely no idea whatsoever of your distinguished position. Please accept our most sincere and heartfelt apologies for this completely inexcusable treatment. Maya's gaze shifted to Sarah with laser-focused intensity. Ms. Carter, you participated actively and enthusiastically in the discrimination. You personally examined my declined transaction slip, carefully assessed my casual appearance, and explicitly agreed with Mr. Phillips that I was fundamentally unsuitable for service at this establishment. Sarah's professional composure crumbled entirely. I was simply following his lead as senior branch manager. I should have questioned his judgment, but I didn't want to undermine his authority in front of customers. You should have followed federal banking regulations instead of social hierarchies, Maya interrupted with devastating calm. Specifically, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, Section 1002.4, which explicitly prohibits discrimination based on race, color, national origin, or physical appearance in any credit transaction or banking service provision. She pulled up another screen showing legal statutes. Additionally, the Fair Housing Act extensions of 2019 specifically address appearance-based discrimination in financial services. Violations carry both civil and criminal penalties. Derek made one increasingly desperate attempt to salvage any remnant of the situation. Dr. Washington, surely you can understand my impossible position here. You presented a declined debit card, wore completely casual clothing inappropriate for our clientele, and your overall presentation suggested limited financial resources. Any reasonable banking professional would have made similar assumptions about your economic status. Maya's response was swift, brutal, and mathematically precise. Any reasonable professional, Derek? Or specifically someone who automatically assumes a black woman in jeans couldn't possibly belong in your prestigious establishment? The question hung in the air like a sword suspended directly over Derek's rapidly disintegrating career. Maya continued without pausing for his response. Let me share additional relevant data for proper context. Federal banking regulations require absolutely equal service, regardless of race, appearance, assumed income level, or personal style choices. Violation penalties under current federal statutes start at $2.5 million per documented incident. She gestured calmly toward the numerous phones still actively recording from multiple angles. This particular incident has been live-streamed simultaneously to over 18,000 viewers across multiple social media platforms. The digital evidence is comprehensive, permanent, and legally admissible. Morrison's voice returned through the speaker, carrying unmistakable final authority. Maya, I'm currently reviewing our quarterly client retention analysis while en route to your location. Walk me through the potential financial impact of this situation on our institutional relationships. Maya's response was clinically detached and absolutely devastating. James, my comprehensive quarterly client assessment was originally scheduled for next week. Based exclusively on today's discriminatory experience, I'll be formally recommending that several major institutional clients immediately reassess their primary banking relationships. She pulled up another detailed screen on her phone, scrolling through what appeared to be client portfolios. Specifically, the Henderson Foundation manages $430 million in diversified assets. The Rodriguez Family Trust oversees $260 million in generational wealth. Morrison Industries, not related to you personally, James, maintains $340 million in active commercial accounts. Derek's face had progressed beyond pale to an ashen gray that suggested imminent physical collapse. Those are actually real clients? Not theoretical examples? Mr. Phillips, those institutional clients specifically chose Prestige Financial based exclusively on my personal professional recommendation 2 years ago during their comprehensive banking review process. Total combined assets under management, $1.03 billion. The pure mathematical reality of potential losses hit Derek like a physical blow to his solar plexus. Maya wasn't remotely finished with her systematic destruction. Additionally, my ongoing Federal Reserve consulting work requires regular comprehensive evaluation of banking institutions for strict regulatory compliance. Today's blatant discriminatory incident represents a significant negative data point in that continuous governmental assessment. She swiped confidently to what appeared to be an official government database displaying regulatory frameworks. Under the Community Reinvestment Act, financial institutions receive mandatory federal ratings for fair lending practices and equal service provision. Poor compliance ratings directly affect federal approval for mergers, acquisitions, new branch licensing, and international banking privileges. Morrison's voice crackled with barely controlled professional fury. Maya, what's your preliminary compliance assessment based specifically on today's experience? Substantial regulatory concerns, James. Systematic discrimination at the customer service level strongly suggests inadequate staff training protocols and possible institutional bias embedded in company culture. The Federal Reserve Banking Commission takes these discriminatory patterns extremely seriously. At Real Talk Tina whispered urgently to her rapidly growing audience of 21,400 viewers. She's not just getting personal revenge, she's systematically destroying this entire bank's reputation using facts, regulations, and government connections. Derek attempted one final, utterly desperate gambit to salvage anything from the wreckage. Dr. Washington, I'm absolutely certain we can resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding through private discussion. Perhaps a confidential conversation would be more professionally appropriate than this public forum. Maya's laugh was soft, controlled, and absolutely terrifying in its implications. Derek, there exists no misunderstanding whatsoever. You deliberately and publicly humiliated me, called security services, threatened police involvement, suggested I was mentally unstable, and recommended I seek employment in fast food service. All while actively filming for your own supposed legal protection. She gestured calmly toward the crowd still recording from every conceivable angle. The comprehensive evidence is irrefutable. Your documented actions violated multiple federal statutes, created substantial legal liability for your employer, and demonstrated exactly the kind of systematic institutional bias that federal regulatory agencies monitor with increasing scrutiny. Morrison's voice returned with deadly professional calm. Derek Phillips, here are your two immediate options. Option 1. Voluntary resignation with documented cause, complete forfeiture of severance package, public apology across all company social media platforms, and mandatory enrollment in comprehensive bias training before any future employment in financial services becomes possible. The ultimatum continued with devastating precision. Option 2. Immediate termination for cause, permanent documentation in your employment record, direct referral to federal banking regulators for individual investigation, and I personally guarantee that every financial institution in the tri-state region knows exactly why you were fired. Derek's voice cracked completely, desperation evident in every syllable. Sir, please consider my family situation. I have a substantial mortgage, car payments, 3 children in private school tuition. I made a serious mistake, but surely complete career destruction isn't proportional. A mistake? Maya's voice cut through his pleading like surgical steel. Derek, you didn't accidentally discriminate. You deliberately performed for an enthusiastic audience. You actively enlisted other customers in my public humiliation. You declared me mentally unstable and welfare dependent for entertainment value. She pulled up her final screen, a contact list that made Derek's blood run genuinely cold. My professional contacts include the FDIC chairman, 3 Federal Reserve Board governors, the Treasury Secretary's chief of staff, the directors of every major banking regulatory agency in the country, and the compliance officers for international banking oversight. Derek stared at the phone screen, seeing official government seals and regulatory titles that could end his career permanently. Furthermore, Maya continued with relentless precision, my economic analysis reports are distributed quarterly to 437 institutional investors, 68 commercial banks, 17 credit unions, and 12 international regulatory agencies across 4 continents. The scope of potential professional consequences hit Derek like an avalanche of career-ending possibilities. CEO James Morrison strode through the branch doors flanked by 2 corporate security officers in dark suits. His expression was thunderous as he surveyed the scene. Phones still recording, customers clustered around Derek's desk, and Maya standing calmly in the center of it all. Clear the lobby, Morrison commanded. Everyone except essential personnel and Dr. Washington out, now. The crowd began dispersing reluctantly. At Real Talk Tina whispered to her 27,400 viewers, CEO just arrived. This is about to get real. Morrison approached Derek's desk, where the disgraced manager sat slumped in his chair, face ashen. Derek Phillips, you're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Sir, please. Derek began desperately. Remove him, Morrison cut off coldly. As security flanked Derek, Morrison turned to address the remaining staff. Sarah Carter, Marcus Williams, you both participated in discriminatory treatment of a board member. You'll face disciplinary review tomorrow morning. Maya spoke for the first time since her devastating phone call. James, individual punishment isn't sufficient. This incident reveals systemic problems requiring comprehensive reform. Morrison nodded grimly. What do you recommend? Maya pulled out her phone, displaying what appeared to be a detailed policy framework. I've drafted preliminary requirements during this educational experience. She began reading with clinical precision. First, immediate implementation of mandatory bias training for all customer-facing employees. 16 hours minimum with annual recertification required. Done, Morrison replied immediately. Second, establishment of an equitable service monitoring system, real-time customer feedback via QR codes at every station, with alerts for discrimination patterns. She swiped to the next screen. Third, quarterly mystery shopping evaluations using diverse testers across age, race, gender, and economic presentation. Results tied directly to employee performance reviews. Morrison was taking notes rapidly. Approved. Continue. Fourth, appointment of a Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer reporting directly to the board, not HR. Someone with regulatory authority and budget control. Maya's voice carried increasing authority as she outlined each requirement. Fifth, establishment of a community investment fund. $2.8 million annually, coincidentally matching my consulting fees, dedicated to minority-owned business loans and financial literacy programs. At Real Talk, Tina's live stream captured every word. Comments flooded past. She's rewriting their entire company. Systematic change. This is how you create real reform. Sixth, Maya continued, implementation of a customer bill of rights posted prominently in every branch. Clear statements about equal service regardless of appearance, background, or assumed wealth. Morrison looked up from his notes. Timeline for implementation? 30 days for training programs and monitoring systems. 60 days for the diversity officer hire and community fund establishment. The customer bill of rights can be posted immediately. Maya wasn't finished. Additionally, this incident must be documented as a case study in your corporate training materials. Real footage, real consequences, real change. Derek, being escorted toward the exit, called out desperately, "Dr. Washington, please. I have children, a mortgage." Maya's response was swift and devastating. "Derek, you should have considered those responsibilities before publicly humiliating someone based on their race and appearance." She paused, then added with surgical precision, "Your children will learn about discrimination from this experience. The question is whether they learn to perpetuate it or prevent it." Morrison addressed the broader implications. "Maya, what about federal regulatory concerns?" "I'll be meeting with the Federal Reserve Banking Commission next week. Today's incident, and more importantly, the immediate corrective actions, will be part of my compliance assessment." She pulled up another screen. "However, I'm recommending Prestige Financial as a model for proactive discrimination prevention, assuming full implementation of these reforms." The reversal was stunning. From potential regulatory disaster to industry example in a single conversation. Sarah Carter stepped forward nervously. "Dr. Washington, what happens to my position?" Maya studied her carefully. "Sarah, you followed Derek's lead without questioning obvious discrimination. That shows poor judgment and inadequate training." Sarah's face fell completely. "However," Maya continued, "you also appeared increasingly uncomfortable as the situation escalated. That suggests some awareness of the problem." She made her decision. "You'll remain as acting manager during a 90-day probationary period. Complete the bias training, demonstrate measurable improvement in inclusive service, and your position becomes permanent." Marcus approached cautiously. "Dr. Washington, ma'am, I apologize for my role. I should have questioned those orders." Maya nodded acknowledgement. "Marcus, you were placed in an impossible position by poor management. The new protocols will include clear guidelines for security personnel about discrimination versus legitimate concerns." Morrison reviewed his notes. "Maya, this represents a complete operational overhaul. The board will need to approve the budget allocations. James, the board meeting is tomorrow. I'll present this as my quarterly assessment with recommendations for industry leadership in inclusive banking." She paused for effect. "The alternative is explaining to federal regulators why a board member was publicly humiliated in our own branch." The choice was obvious. Morrison turned to address the few remaining customers and staff. "Effective immediately, Prestige Financial Services commits to becoming the industry standard for inclusive, respectful banking. Anyone who cannot meet these standards will find employment elsewhere." At Real Talk, Tina whispered to her audience, "Y'all, she didn't just get revenge. She transformed an entire company's culture in 30 minutes. Maya approached Derek one final time as security prepared to escort him out. "Derek, you asked earlier about my $50. Derek looked up miserably. "That $50 represents approximately 47 minutes of my hourly consulting rate with Fortune 500 companies. My daily investment portfolio fluctuations average $127,000. She paused, letting the numbers sink in completely. "But more importantly, you assumed my worth based on my appearance. That's a poverty of character no amount of money can fix." Derek's shoulders slumped in complete defeat as security led him away. Morrison addressed Maya directly. "What can Prestige Financial do to repair this damage to you personally?" Maya's response surprised everyone. "James, personal compensation isn't the goal. Systematic change is." She gestured toward the phones still recording. "This incident has been witnessed by tens of thousands of people. They'll judge your response by your actions, not your apologies." Morrison nodded, understanding. "Full implementation within 30 days. You have my commitment." "And James? I want Derek's replacement chosen through a diverse hiring panel. No more assumptions about who belongs in banking." As Maya prepared to leave, she turned back to address the remaining crowd. "Everyone who witnessed this, remember that respect isn't determined by appearance, wealth, or status. It's a basic human right." She smiled slightly. "And sometimes the person you underestimate might just be the one who can change everything." The branch fell silent as Maya Washington walked toward the exit, her simple jeans and cotton sweater unchanged, but her quiet power having transformed an entire institution. At Real Talk, Tina ended her live stream with a final message. "Y'all just witnessed how real change happens, not through anger or violence, but through intelligence, patience, and strategic power." The view count had reached 34,200 people who watched discrimination become transformation. 3 months later, Prestige Financial Services had become an industry case study in transformation. The Equitable Service Monitoring System recorded a 94% satisfaction rate across all demographic groups. 47 employees completed comprehensive bias training with perfect scores. The Community Investment Fund had approved 23 minority-owned business loans totaling $1.2 million. Maya's story became required reading at Harvard Business School, titled "Strategic Patience: How Quiet Power Creates Lasting Change." Derek Phillips found employment at a community credit union after completing 40 hours of bias training. His new manager was a Black woman who emphasized second chances and growth. Sarah Carter thrived as permanent branch manager, implementing inclusive policies that became company-wide standards. Marcus Williams was promoted to head of security training, teaching de-escalation and bias recognition. At Real Talk, Tina's original video reached 2.3 million views, sparking nationwide conversations about banking discrimination and the power of strategic response over reactive anger. Maya's approach demonstrated a fundamental truth. Real change comes not from destroying opponents, but from transforming systems. Your voice matters in creating change. Have you witnessed discrimination in banking, retail, or professional settings? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience can spark important conversations and inspire others to speak up. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to Black Soul Stories for more real accounts of quiet strength overcoming systemic bias. Every subscription amplifies voices that need to be heard. Share this video to remind others. Never judge someone's worth by their appearance. The person you underestimate today might be the one who changes your world tomorrow. Together, we can create spaces where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of how they look or where they come from. Hit that notification bell to join our community of changemakers. Because when we support each other's stories, we write a better future for everyone.